Oh ho ho ho! Hello everyone. Well, I'm not. This is not live. I'm recording this in one shot. Why? I find it easier, more comfortable, more real, and I have time to talk about the little things that sometimes, when I make videos, I just don't mention or forget to mention because of the time pressure and whatever. But yeah, today I want to talk about return tracks, and I got these requests, and I found it very interesting. Like sometimes this is one of these things that we don't really talk about, or I don't see many people make videos about it or mention it. But it's very important. It's important, and it actually changed my sound. Yeah, it actually improved my sound and made me feel more excited about the possibilities with MPC and Ableton, everything, right? So this is not exclusive to MPC. What I'm about to show you can also be done on Ableton, Logic, FL Studio, anywhere. Like this is basically something that we can do anywhere, and it always works. Okay, and what's the purpose? And there were little things that I wanted to mention. I actually have some notes here the other day, and basically, well, yeah, I'm gonna cover everything. It's Ableton, Logic, FL Studio, and whatever I do here, you can do it everywhere. It's exactly the same process. So yeah, it always works the same. Return tracks is something you're gonna find in any DAW, and maybe there's a little bit of a tricky setup here in the MPC because of the way things look like, but it's actually very easy. Once you get used to it, it's amazing. And well, let's get into it. Let's do it. So first of all, return tracks, what are they? If we think of a basic definition, it's a track that contains audio effects, so it's only audio effects, and the output of every track, regular track in the project, can be sent through it using send controls, right? We can apply common effects across many tracks with these return tracks, but just by using one instance of the effect. So basically, it helps us save CPU power, and at the same time, it's very comfortable because it's like we're just sending the audio. Imagine we have an effect that we want it applied to everything, but you don't want to open each of the programs here. You don't want to go program by program. Imagine here we have we already have 16. So imagine having 16 programs, and it's like, oh, I want to add reverb to all of them. I want to add delay, I want to add distortion. Imagine something like that, and it's like, oh fuck, but I need to add it to everything. So the type of thing that you want to add to everything, return tracks. That's when it come very, very handy. And well, let's remember that the rules. So this is return tracks, not instruments. It's to apply effects. We send audio through knobs. Normally we have knobs in Ableton or Logic or FL Studio. There must be a knob or something, but here in the MPC it's funny, it's different, right? Check this out. Let me show you. Let me make sure you're watching. Okay. So this is the main MPC screen, right? I hope you like my new setup. It was very hard to get the camera too much shine and create reflections and stuff. But anyways, let's go. So this is the main page, right? You have to go to the track mixer, track mix, in the main menu, you find it as track, channel mixer, this one, the green one you see here. You also have this button here. Obviously, most of you already know that, but well, we go there or we go here, whatever. It's the same thing. And normally the first thing you see is all your programs, right? Because here, exactly here in this corner, top left, and you can actually select it. You're gonna see mixer for programs. And down here, you have different options. So remember, we're talking about send controls, right? Like sending stuff. You have to press this one. You'll always be at the default is level. You have panning. You have mutes if you want to mute things here. And then you have send. And this is the one we're after today. Send. That's it. As you can see, I already sent stuff to those return tracks. You know? The first square is for the first return track. Then the second, the little tiny squares that you see there. And every time I press send, it scrolls through, you know, from the second to the third, from the third to the fourth, and on. Okay. So normally, for example, let's focus on this first one. They normally come like this, minus infinite. That's what you're gonna see, right? All of them should be minus infinite, basically. Right? And you can also use these knobs on the right side. Now I'm gonna leave them as I had them because I want to show you what's going on. Minus 12, minus 12. That's my magic number. I'll explain later, no worries. Okay, this is the screen where we want to get. This is the screen where you send the stuff to the return tracks, right? Okay, we're done with that, right? Now, I'm gonna give you some, just before we start sending stuff and testing this out, I'm gonna give you reasons why you should send stuff, audio, to return tracks, why you should use them. Remember the CPU power, right? But okay. And this is very, very important. The first one is when your track feels empty, feels like a bit deaf. Like there's space for noise, and you want I want my track to be noisier, but not louder. We can just turn up the volume. That's not the point. Like we just want things to be loud, right? We want the harmonics to be more present. We want that type of loudness. Return tracks, okay? Now, second, we want to generate a specific type of noise. Sometimes, and this is important, when you send the audio to be processed in one of these return tracks, you're gonna just generate new audio, but the one that you have in the original track won't change. What happens when you add effects to the programs directly and you start, doing things change, right? And sometimes you lose loudness, you lose stuff. This is where things play different, with return tracks. You want that return track to generate new noise. You don't want to touch what you had previously in your track. You're happy with that. It's just, I'm happy with this, but could this be louder? There you go. Now, third reason. You have your instrument there, right? You have instruments like drums. Let's limit to drums. Let's listen to drums now. Let me just mute all this stuff. Let's listen to the drums. I hope it's not too loud, right? But check this out. We have drums here. Now hear the difference once I apply the reverb from my return track. I'm gonna show you how to do it. I just want you to listen the difference, hear it. Very subtle. So what happened there? Like, and this is very, very particular for, well, drums and any sounds, right? But you feel like in between the sounds, you have lots of drums, hats, percussions. In between the sounds, there's space. Like, there's space for something, but you don't know what. But it's like there's space for something because my drums cut, and every time they I don't know, the snare, the sound is over. Like there's nothing. It sounds like it's in space where there's no air, there's no echo, nothing. Sorry, scratch my mouth, my nose. So basically, yeah, if you're playing your music and you feel like there's space in between the sounds, and you just feel like nothing, and headphones is a very good way of testing this stuff. You know, if you don't hear anything, like, and it annoys you, you feel big because you compare that with a professional recording, right? And you hear like there's a room sound, like it's happening in a real space, real place, like the sound of space, like the echoes, all that stuff. If you don't hear any of that on your track, you need this return track. Like it's gonna help you a lot. It's gonna help you fix the attack and release of many of your sounds, especially drums. Test this. We're gonna test it with drums, but the drums, the tail of the snare, you know, it's so different when we have. Let me play the snare. The snare. Oops. It's my snare. So check this out. Now. Oops, sorry. Oh, check. This is the test. This is what I wanted to show you. Listen to that snare. Oop, sounds like it just got muted. Like it's not natural. It's not cool. But if I go to the program and I add my reverb like normally I do, or like any, you know, that's the way. Go there, change the snare. But you like the snare. The only problem you have with it is the tail. It's like the release. The return track reverb or effect or whatever you want to add there. That's gonna make a difference. That's gonna fix your tail. So you want to fix tails and get natural attack and release for many of your percussive instruments. This is a great thing. So depth, you know, the yeah. I hope you can hear this if you're on your phone. I hope it makes a difference. With return track, without. Oh, there's no space, nothing going on. So, and well, and the fourth reason, as I was telling you before, you don't want to add effects. Sorry, you don't want to add effects to the programs that you already have. And this is what I was just mentioning before. Like, if we do this, if we don't use this, we don't do this with the return track, it's very different because the original sound is gonna lose power. When you add a reverb, you always find the dry wet knob, the mix. Actually, we have it here, right? For us MPC boys, we always have in the reverb. I'm using, by the way, air reverb. That's a good one. The other ones are also good, but air reverb is it's very nice. We have mix right here. We have the mix this square. This is mix. And okay, I think it's time to mention this. Okay, and there, let's get into this. Okay, let's get into this. So I gave you 4 reasons, and the most important reasons why return tracks are better than adding stuff to regular And let's bring the music back. Let's bring the music back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Yes, I had to give you reasons why to use this. It generates loudness, but it's different because it doesn't destroy what you've done in your project. Like it's an additional layer of sound that's generally used to recreate the sense of space. And this is where I'm trying to get now. So the next point, and I'm gonna explain to you what's the most basic setup. What most common uses for return tracks. I want to show you where they are. First, let's go and find them. Remember, we went to the track channel mixer menu, channel mixer over here, right? And remember, I wanted to point out this one, the title of the page. We have to go to return tracks by turning this knob or clicking on this one, and then you're gonna find returns. Returns, that's where they are. This is where we mix everything. It's very important. Everything except pads. For pads, we have a different one called pad mixer, right? But no, we're after channel mixer. Click on this thing, turn the knob. Returns, and we're gonna get 4. We have 4 returns to use in the MPC. 4. I think this is the maximum. I'm not sure about. Right now, I'm not in a standalone mode, but we always have this, or at least 2. I think 4. Yeah, I think we get 4 with standalone mode as well. In this menu, we can adjust the level, pan, mute, insert is to see the effects, and the routing, right? Never touch this stuff. Never touch the volume of return tracks. No. I think that's a common practice. Don't really touch the volume of the return track because it's a different method. It's maybe touching the volume is something that you'll do later, but for fine tuning or whatever when doing the mixing mastering stuff, but don't really touch the volume of return tracks. Leave them as they are. The most useful thing you could use in this section is the mute, because you can mute them. And sometimes, let me show you the entire track. I like it like this. Normally has a snare. But the snare's a bit weird, right? Because the reverb is not there. Anyways, okay, back to returns. So, I'm gonna unmute everything here so you can hear the difference. Okay, so we have 4 return tracks, but the most common setup, you're just gonna need at least 2 return tracks. The first one is reverb. It's like, it's very good if you actually use reverb only by adding it to a return track and then sending the audio like the way I'm gonna show you. But reverb is essential as a return track effect. And delay. Both, you know them, like the purpose is to just generate space, echoes. It makes things louder, but not louder in terms of amplitude. like peak level. No, it's not that. It's more about presence and the length of a sound, pace, and stereo information. Stereo information. Sometimes we don't know how to generate stereo information. Return tracks. Reverb on the one. Delay on the second. The third, here I have a different type of reverb that's very long, and that's the one that makes my snare sounds very cool or long. Like if I have slow instruments that need a long tail, I'm gonna send them to this one. And the fourth, this one is it's one of the new effects that we got with update 2.10. It's the granulator. And the reason this was an experiment, very recent. I was just like, whoa, I want to generate harmonics. The granulator, that's what it does. I'm gonna show you. But it generates this noisy, bright grain sound. It's hard to describe, but it sounds like magical particles or something. But I didn't want to destroy my keyboards. I didn't want to add the granulator specifically to everything to test it out. It's like sometimes you want to test an effect and you don't know what's going to happen. Whoa, this is a good way. Like I actually did that and I was happy with the result. And then I started sending stuff randomly, keyboards, the keyboards with different tones, the bass, the snare. You can send anything you want. There's actually a way to send not just the programs, but particular individual paths. So it's good. And obviously, remember, it's just it's new noise, it's loudness. So if you have a very empty track that feels like, oh, it doesn't exist in the real world, it just exists in the MPC, in the computer, it sounds very dry, like fake, like you don't like that feel. This is the thing. This is why return tracks are important. So how to set it up? Let me just check my notes to make sure I'm mentioning everything. Blah, blah, blah. Nice, guys. Okay, so let me show you what's the normal setup. You're gonna select the first. Let's go level. Sometimes I select mute to mute them like this. It's easier than pushing this button. This button sometimes is I don't know. You need to do one by one, but here you can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Okay, level. We press it, and if you're using a empty project, you should have nothing here. Like there should be no effect at all. So you go in there, you select air reverb, and I'm gonna show you what I have. I went for the basic small preset. Basic small is why? Because the reverb that I normally use for everything, it's actually in my template. It's a very short reverb sound. Like it's not really long. Now 9 ms for pre-delay. Pre-delay makes things, well, I don't really want to tell you how reverbs work because that's not the point. But the only thing you want to make sure when you set up this is that the mix is 100%. 100%. Not 99, not 95 or 10, 15. It has to be 100%. If you don't set this as at 100%, you're just gonna duplicate whatever audio you send it. It's just gonna create a duplicate, and that's not the intention. You don't want to duplicate audio. You just want to generate new audio, super processed with a very specific type of sound, And you're gonna control this with the knobs, the send knobs that I'll show you before. We're gonna do it, I'll show you how it works now. But just remember, when you're setting this up, any effect you add, any effect like reverb, delay, distortion, anything, make sure it's 100% mix, wet. In Ableton, whatever is dry or wet, here in MPC we have mix. Actually, yeah, all the air effects have mix, and I think let me check. The compressors from Akai Professional. Let's check the vintage one. Dry wet. We have dry wet as well from Akai Professional. Okay, so 100. No, there's no. That's a rule. That's the golden rule for return tracks. You know, important. Now, in my second one, I have delay. Which one is it? Delay tape sync. I like sync delay because it's it goes with the music. It doesn't. You want things to bounce musically sometimes, you know. It's like the sound is bouncing in a natural way. So it's the same thing here. I just found a preset that I like. I'll show you how we can test them. But 100 here, dry wet 100. Another important thing. This is the first. That was the first rule, golden rule of return track effects. The second rule would be, if you go to the air, let's check air reverb. Second rule, everything here can be whatever you want. You know, you're gonna play with things. You're gonna figure out what your track needs. How long the I'm hitting my mic. How long the tail needs to be. The additional noise. How much space you have for this new additional noise. But one thing I can tell you that's like super important is, and that's why Air Reverb has an additional page down here that says high-low frequency. Let me just check everything's okay here. Okay, everything's okay. So high-low and frequencies allows us to restrict the area in the frequency spectrum. The area this reverb is actually working on, you know, like if we're generating new audio, what frequencies you want, basically. What frequencies, what new frequencies you want, which ones you don't want. And you know, we have lows, we have low mids, we have mids, high mids, basically bass, pads, vocals, guitars, lead sounds, hats. You know, we have all these different sounds, right? Yeah, I think we're in the same position, right? We have all this stuff. So I'm gonna tell you what I do and what I've seen many people do. Many pros recommend this. Oops, I'm hitting everything here. I'm too big for my setup. So, and let's bring the music back for this fact, you know. Without hats. Just the piano, okay? So this is what many pros do. No reverb on the lows. Because think about it, if your bass had like an additional layer of frequencies, space frequencies, it wouldn't bounce. It wouldn't bounce the way it's supposed to bounce, and that's what bass does. Like it goes in and out. It's a bit percussive, and the groove depends on the bass as well. So you don't want to create any big tails in that area. So that's what I do here with this section. High-low frequencies. For lows, I cut everything. For me, the setup here is 289 Hertz. Sometimes it could be even more. And make sure this reverb is not really here. Not there. You have to cut that stuff because it's gonna create it. Unless it's a very specific purpose. but not for the return track one. I don't recommend that. Don't do it like that, because your bass and your pads and your pianos, everything's gonna have this layer of and makes everything sound muddy. But you don't want mud in your mix. At the same time, high frequencies, and that's what that's there. You know, you don't want your hats specifically. You don't want your hi-hats to have a super long tail. Like it sounds. It's not like it sounds terrible or anything, but if you have too many hats, for example, for me that doesn't work because I love hats and I normally have 3 or 4 different hats. Open, left, right. One that's like doing ping pong stuff, auto pen, heavy auto pen. I have a crash or 2. I have a ride. I have white noise. I have lots of stuff in that area, the top end of the spectrum. Well, everything sounds. You can cut that with this. You can make sure that this reverb, the return track reverb, doesn't touch that. How? You go here and you play with this knob, which is the cut for the high frequency cut. Mine is set at 6.82 kilohertz or 6K, 6000. It could be even more aggressive. You can go up to 5K, but don't go too hard, because actually just before this, I feel like that's the area where you have the best reverb harmonics, like basically from 1K to 5K. Like that's where reverb actually makes a difference. I showed you my snare before, right? That snare it's heavily boosted in that area because of this reverb and the other. I have another one in return track 3. But well, that's the reverb. Return track 1. That type of reverb. Just remember rules: 100%. 100% mix and filter. Filter those two areas. So make sure those areas are not are not generating reverb, right? Okay. The same for delay on return track number 2. These ones. That's a delay. It's the same principle. You can restrict the areas with delay tape sync. Actually, I think so. Oh, tone. Yeah, I have a tone knob here that I can turn to the right. And obviously I try to be careful what I send to this delay, because if it's something with very low frequencies, things get muddy and you lose groove and you lose bounce. Things won't bounce, so we gotta be careful. Okay, so now we have the return tracks there at 100% with everything filtered, looking good. What we have to do is click here. To see this here again, and then go back to programs or audio, wherever, right? This is you should know this is your project. And here, down here, we select send again. Okay. That's it. And now all the tracks basically should look like this. Let me do it. I want to show you how you're gonna identify what things look like for you if you never used this before. Boom. This is what's gonna look like, minus infinite everything, because you still haven't used the tracks, the return tracks. Return tracks are active. And remember, there's one value for example, the first square, that's the reverb. The second one, that's delay. I have to do the same thing. But check this out. We're just gonna limit this to reverb. I'm gonna remove the other two. Things got quiet, right? This delay it's doing a good job here. Okay. So again, within programs, level, synth, first square, which corresponds to reverb. And there you go. All your programs. I have 16 programs here, or maybe more. Yeah, 16 exactly. So, okay, 16 programs. What we're gonna do is select each of this. Remember, we're in synth. It has to say minus infinite. You can use these ones, the knobs. You know, we can use the knobs here. And with Q-Link, I'm actually changing the row. So I'm gonna start increasing the value. This first program is drums. Always start with drums. Wherever you have your kick, snare, hats, it's very nice if you test your reverb with that. Because after that, this is what I normally do. I send everything to my reverb. I just want a big layer of reverb. I send everything there. And the good thing is that because of remember the high and low frequency limitations that we set up, it shouldn't mess up the mix. But if it does, we're not gonna send as much as we normally do. You know, like you have to control here how much you're generating, but try to send everything. I would send everything to my reverb, because it's like we're trying to recreate a real room. You know, it's a real room scenario. So it's like, whoa, everybody's invited. Like it's like having everybody playing in real instruments here, and then a laptop in the studio or physical room, you know, a real room space. You have 4 musicians with acoustic instruments and 1 laptop in a box. Doesn't have any echo. You know, it's like you have to invite everybody. You need to bring everybody to the party and then adjust the levels. That's what I would do. Let's do it. So we start with drums. I'm gonna go full on, like. Oh, first we need to play the drum track. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna play kick, snare, hi-hats, and perks, which are my tracks 1, 2, and 3. So this first one for me, that's my kick and snare. Check this out. Always go hard. What's going on? You know, there's a new layer of something, but I don't know what that is. And this is my advice. Go -12. The magic number for me, it's always been -13, -12. I'm gonna go -12 point something. And listen to the space in between hits, in between hi-hats. Listen to it, like, not too loud, of course. It's a subtle improvement. It's like a thin layer of space, something, but check it out now, without it. -12. It's there. It's there. Now you can send the hats as well. All of them are -12. The bass as well. No problem with bass, because remember the regions. We remove all problems with the low frequencies. So whatever is here is gonna be good stuff. Bass. Okay, what about this keyboard? Check this out. There we go. -0. I'm gonna start turning this. I select it. Let's go. Let's go. This one's very slow actually, so that's why I prefer using these knobs. You hear it? It's there. It's like an additional echo thingy that feels natural. But if I go beyond -12, it doesn't sound bad. Maybe here with this keyboard, and you know why? Because it stops, because it's the da, da, da. If you have lots of space in between notes, the effect has time to fade before the next hit comes in. So remember, this is the one note, this is the next. You have space in between the two. If loudness doesn't go, if you set the effect at full volume like this, it becomes a sausage of sound. I don't know. It's like I want to preserve my dynamics, because later, this is what happens with music, you know, like later things get loud, and as things get loud, you end up with a big sausage of music, like sausage fattener. So I recommend -12, -13, -14. Maybe if you have a particular instrument that's not playing like fast, and like this one here. Actually, I can send more, but this is the thing. I always play different things with my instruments. This is a keyboard. This is a plugin. The keyboard from you know, the standalone version, electric. You know, this is electric. It's a keyboard. So I'm actually playing the notes. It's not a sample. I don't remember exactly in this song what I did, but there must be parts where I'm playing chords, where I'm playing notes. Go save -12. And if you notice something's wrong or whatever, go low. But I recommend that, you know, threshold. So that's done. Oh, and we have a piano here. Let's send the piano as well. I'm gonna send everything again. Everything. -12 point something. You play with it. As long as you get that thin layer of space, you're good to go. I think that's the reverb's purpose. Okay. Send everything at -12. And I'm gonna show you one more thing just before we go. Okay, everything -12, reverb only. The other return tracks are off. For me, it sounds good. You know, it sounds better than without it. Now, without. With. Oops. With. Now check this out. This is very important for the reverb. If you go in the effects, let's say, okay, I want more. Like I like it, but I want more. Don't mess with the -12, -13 rule. My advice: don't leave it as it is. Especially if all the instruments are there, you know, at -12. If all instruments are there, are already sent to the effect, and the effect is not really making a difference, there are some critical values here in air reverb. Actually, these 4: pre-delay, room size, and time. Mess with them. The most important one for me is time, because time increases the length of the tail generated. So check this out. I have it at 1.3. I'm gonna go 1.9. Nothing. It's there. Especially because it's a slow song. Now let's go beyond 5. Listen what's going on. Listen to that. The reverb is too much. So before the next kick comes in, there's sound from 3 kicks behind. Like, actually, these are my personal rules, but in between beats, I want everything to fade naturally. So if you don't give these effects time to, recover naturally, you're gonna be carrying sound from before. It gets dangerous. So make sure you don't have a long time frame here in this parameter. 1.2 for me. 1.2, 1.1. Let's leave it 1.2. On, up. On, up. It's a thin layer. Now, the other return tracks I set up, in this one, there's a air nonlinear reverb, which works with snares. Let me check. Look, actually, I use it for my drums exclusively, actually. So I wanted my drums to have longer tails. I just feel like, okay, it's possible, but I don't want to mess with the rest of the mix. I don't want my keyboards, my piano. I don't want to destroy that. So I created this new return track. Well, it's already there, but I added the air nonlinear reverb, and check the difference now with the two. You can hear how it makes a it's there. Feels like air. Now let me mute it. I'm gonna activate it. So this is more sound design and whatever, but I did the same thing here. I restricted the frequencies to make sure, nothing gets, my mix doesn't get destroyed. And I just have an additional track that generates natural sound, space sound. And for example, you can go creative, and this is the last thing maybe I want to tell you. You can go crazy creative. The granulator here in return 4, check what's happening. Granulator, which ones I sent? Let me remember. It's my sent number 4. So I have my keyboard 1, keyboard 2, piano and path, and samples, which are all basically chords. There's lots of chords and melodic stuff. There's like, well, I just want to generate like additional tiny melodies that fade. That was my idea, and I made it work with granulator. Let's listen to those tracks exclusively and nothing else. The samples, I don't remember what samples I use here. Yeah. You can actually hear it now. It's working. So let me bring back the delay. Okay. So let me mute the granulator and play all those instruments are being sent to this return 4. Return track 4 with a granulator, air pumper, and a parametric EQ from air. That one is actually doing what reverbs already have by default, because the granulator doesn't have that EQ option, but we can add it here. It's the good thing. Like, we can control this return track. So with these 3 effects, I made it pump, because you're gonna hear this. The sound is continuous. It never stops. Like, it's a long tail sound that it never goes. So with air pumper, it starts going up and down in volume. In parametric EQ, just to remove with high-low cut, we remove everything before 566 hertz and everything after 5K. Like, that's my area. 1K, 5K of harmonics. That was the principle, and it worked. So let's go. Let me check. Okay, let's go. Mute. It's gone. Back on. That was it. That was it. Like, basically, I found my harmonics with granulator. I went into the effect first. I follow the -12 rule first, you know. I said, okay, what do I want to do? Like, I want these keyboards and this stuff to generate harmonics with granulator. So granulator goes to return track number 4. I send first, or I add it there. I go back to programs and I make sure in send 4, I sent enough audio to the granulator. This is not -12. You know why? Because the granulator didn't respond like the reverb or delay effects. It doesn't respond the same way. Like, and sometimes if you play specific chords or notes or octaves in your keyboard, the granulator responds faster and it generates more effects and more stuff. And it's a bit unpredictable. What I did was I started with -12. I started with -12 here, no more. Then I went to my return track. I played those you know, this section. And then I started messing with this, you know. But remember the rule: 100% mix, 100% mix. And I think that's all, because everything else had to be done here with the other effects. Air pumper to make things pump in any way you want. Air pumper is basically LFO tool. LFO tool if you're on the DAW. And parametric EQ just to limit that area. 1K to 5K. Bam. I'm gonna keep on experimenting with the return tracks. I mean, it's very exciting. Seeing many of the effects here in the MPC are like very, very accessible, easy to use. And it's very nice, you know, here with the knobs. Now I'm gonna kill all the return tracks. Sounds different, right? Like it's a different way of creating harmonic content, and it's not just about the amplitude of your, oh, I want to compress my cakes and stuff. Yeah, I know, but it's about generating harmony and making things fade naturally. And return tracks is the best way to do it, because otherwise you're gonna have a hard time trying to adjust and finding space for, you know, as an instance of reverb and delay in each of your tracks. Do it this way. If you haven't set it up, leave one reverb and one delay in these two. Limit those regions with the high-low frequency options. Adjust the time and the tails and all that stuff. Test it out and leave it on a template. and you see like how good it feels when you have a keyboard like this piano. You see how it's like down, down, all that stuff that's happening. I think 80% it's just because of the return tracks. Like it's fading. Otherwise, you need to find that particular option in each of the programs, each of the program edit sections of the effects. It's just doesn't worth it. So I hope you find this useful and cool. I'm trying to improve my game here on YouTube, so see more content from me, more videos. I want to share everything I know, have a good time here with everyone. Yeah, please leave me a like, subscribe. Yeah, let's do it, and leave me questions. All this stuff comes from questions that sometimes I get from everybody. I'm also following all the groups, Facebook, Reddit, whatever, and I find stuff that it's like, well, I'm not sure if I should make a video because I already understand it, but I can talk a lot about things. Like sometimes it's not easy to explain. Like you need to understand different sides of one particular effect, or one particular little thing, to really understand. Like if somebody tells you this is what it is, it's like school. You cannot memorize the definition of something that you don't really understand, you haven't seen. But once you see it, once you try it out, and hear different reasons why you said, well, then you can adapt it. You can actually accept that it's something useful. So, well, hopefully this works out for you, and it's the first time you hear about it. And yeah, let's stay in touch. Take care and have a good start of the week. It's Monday, so lots of work to do. For me, this is all. So all the best, and see you in the week. Take care.